Hey everyone, this is Zenny, at the helm to analyze the idiocy. Today's commentary is on Nicholas E. Miranda. The degrees are as follows. The Gamer made a countdown of video games you shouldn't play in front of your parents, and TOG Professor made a video covering that. Dual Tones responded to TOG with her own commentary. Blaze the Movie Fan spouted a whole lot of nothing. Slayer the Lolly and BlazinHope did a commentary on the Movie Fan, and now Nick is sitting on the top of this chain, covering Hope and Slayer. Now that you're up to speed, let's roll.
Another commentary. How is gonna be on?
Okay, let's make this quick. I can barely tell what's being said, the camera is really shaky, which is distracting as all get out, no context was given, making this even more confusing, and no links in the description, meaning viewers have to figure things out on their own. I advise getting a more versatile editing software such as these, or put in more effort with the one you have now. I'm gonna restore the previous degrees and give Nick subtitles to make the commentary more bearable. Also, some parts will be unedited to make a point or two.
Now look, I'm likely gonna get backlash for making this video. But I have been a bandwagon in the commentary community since 2016, and I'm really past the point of caring. I used to care what the commentary community thinks of me, but not anymore. Now I mainly care about entertaining my fans who enjoy my commentaries.
Yeah, expect me to address this during my final thoughts.
Then why are you pointing out there?
Because it's easier to point out something to remember instead of expecting everyone to follow along without proper guidance. Note to self, add dark chocolate to the groceries list.
How about you just skip it so to speed it up?
Because context is important. Vital information can be left out if you don't pay attention to the argument in its entirety. Unless you were talking about that unintelligible garbling I skipped a few seconds ago, where you asked why they use a skip card, I think?
Because excuse that, you used it a few times in this video.
In that case, what was skipped was unneeded. It isn't involved with what's going to be said later on.
No pop in circumstance or sketches this time, because it's my first commentary I've made in a long time and first actual video past doing my Nuzlocke challenge of Pokemon Platinum that I'm trying to fix because I had an issue and lost some of my video files and kind of screwed up my saves, so I'm trying to fix that now.
Oh no, don't tell me, is this unscripted? That's gonna cause problems, isn't it? Alright, I'll go ahead and address this. TOG, I understand that 2011 and 2012 commentaries were typically done without a script, and that may have been fine for that time period, but it's kind of an outdated practice now. Mainly because people understand that if you go unscripted, you can wind up with stupid contradictions, a lack of research, or you can just lose your train of thought completely and go on unneeded and unnecessary tangents that have nothing to do with the video. And this is not inherently a problem, as there are some people who are the exception and can legitimately go through a video unscripted and unfiltered and seem perfectly okay. But if I'm to be blunt with this video proves you're not the exception.
I will admit that you don't make a good point. I think you didn't use a script for this particular commentary, but you're factually wrong in assuming that most people didn't use scripts back in 2012. Sure, that might have been the case for people who very well liked in the commentary community back then, but the popular and the very respected commentators back then did use scripts. In fact, let's go further back in time and talk about 2011. One of the most popular and one of the most respected commentators back then was M1, and he clearly used scripts in his commentaries. Not only that, there was also a very popular song made back in 2011. I wish I could show a clip from that song, but unfortunately I can't find it. If I recall correctly, that song went something like scripted and editing, which is clearly encouraging people to use scripts. So yeah, it was highly fucking encouraged back in 2011.
That wasn't her point, though. Her point was that most people in 2012 typically did not.
So what? Why does it matter if it's scripted or not back then, or if they do it now or not?
Well, if you didn't cut her off, and or paid attention, you would know that going unscripted was a major issue back in 2012 because, much like your video, those who didn't have a script dragged out their videos by pausing in between words and sounded disjointed and unfocused. Using scripts can avoid these issues, since not everyone is comfortable with going off the cuff like Blaze the Movie Fan, let alone do it well.
By typically, she means that it was a usual practice for a lot of people in the community.
Oh, fool, you practice the same exact thing.
So when you finally get an explanation, you just brush it off like it didn't mean anything. Well, aren't thou a most courteous and mature individual? I give thee many thanks, Captain Obvious. I see thine skills of repetition hath not aged a day.
Also, I like how you only point out one example of someone back then who used scripts, that being M1. That doesn't count for the entirety of the CC during that time. It's only one situation. Though, if I can hit duel here, I think it would be a better idea to give examples as to what commentators back then went through commentaries unscripted.
You know he just did. Just not admitted.
Ugh, I hate the pronoun game. Alright, I can only come up with two possibilities for this, and both of them don't have you looking good. The first is that you meant Dual Tones brought up examples. No, she didn't. She just said going unscripted was a common issue back in 2012. Also, Doodle, if you're watching, I hope you don't mind if I steal this for a bit.
Lunatic the game would have a field day with you.
Did you just assume we're gender?
If you were talking about Blaze the movie fan, he only brought up one example to represent all unscripted commentaries. And it wasn't even a good example. MSkull01 was considered to be a pretty good commentator at the time, which would imply unscripted commentaries weren't that big of an issue, even though Blaze said someone in the CC made an entire song about the contrary. That reminds me of something Hope and Slayer forgot to point out. Hey Blaze, you do know that popular doesn't mean majority, right? Before you cut off Doodle, she already said that it was typical for commentaries to be unscripted, regardless of quality. You saying that there are people who did good without a script doesn't do anything to our argument. And don't try to use the opinion card on me. Not only is that stupid, that's also a lie, because you claim Doodle got something factually wrong, meaning in this case, you were trying to debunk her.
Alright, let me ask you a question. Aren't commentaries meant to help the creator of the original video? That's what I keep hearing commentators saying, and frankly pointing out what the creator of the original video did right is a lot more helpful than just telling the person what he did wrong with the video. So no, saying that you agree and move on isn't pointless parting. It does serve a purpose to the commentary. You know what that purpose is? Telling the creator of the original video what he did right. And I really think that the creator of the original video deserves to know that. Just pointing out problems with the video and not telling the user in question what he did right is very biased.
Oh boy, I've been wanting to address this point since we started. Well, yes, it is nice to tell your subject what they did right. However, if it's just agreeing with them, you're not explaining how they can improve from it.
Then there is no point to say what they did right. If it's a commentary, you're supposed to point out flaws and nothing else.
No one said that was true. You can make jokes for entertainment, point out errors in production, avoid being stupid, taking away. And the best part is, now I know you didn't pay attention when you first watched this, because BlazinHope already addressed this idiotic statement.
Well, yes, it is nice to tell your subject what they did right. However, if it's just agreeing with them, you're not explaining how they can improve from it. Pointing out issues is a way for the person to improve from the mistakes made, as you point out what they did wrong, and more often, pointing out how they can improve from it.
Commentaries aren't just for the sake of helping the person to improve. It is also for the sake of critique and debate. Agreeing with your target doesn't do jack shit in the grand scheme of things when the main point is to point out flaws within the video.
Unless what I'm watching is your first viewing, but I'll cross that bridge once I get to it.
Look, there's more to commentaries than just debunking a video. Commentaries are also a form of a discussion. Sure, adding your own opinion doesn't debunk points, but it still gives your perspective that does add something of value to the discussion.
Blaze, what the fuck? Whoops! Look what you made me do!
Nope, that was obviously your fault.
Indubitably, Hope obviously had control of an uncontrollable rage that was caused by the movie fans' outrageous stupidity.
God, this point boils my blood so much!
But Tippy, your problem isn't with Blaze's point. Your problem is with freaking Tamashi.
What? I could do the overdone. Facepalm right now if it wasn't overdone.
Yeah, that was needed. If this was supposed to be a joke, it was done half-heartedly, and all it amounted to was a poor man's OMFG Mina like the crib. If you're going to butt in, please say something more than, "That the big stupid."
I've exhausted my care for this. Please don't tell me this is how you plan to return. A bunch of repetitiously...
Okay, hold up. Call us a nitpick if you may, but Blaze, this clearly isn't part of Doodle's argument you were arguing about beforehand. This shows that you probably might need a skip card.
I'm sorry, but last time I checked, not every single person that skipped used the skip card. And also, I was quite a nitpick you made there, saying that it wasn't even part of the argument.
Call us a nitpick if you may.
I was quite a nitpick you made there.
So what if it's a nitpick? It may not be a big problem for Blaze's video, but it's still something that can be fixed.
I have been in the commentary communities as children times, and I can tell you for a fact what you said here is complete bullshit.
Are you trying to censor the video? This feels jarring considering you made that noise yourself, and the only other times you did anything audible, you pause the video first and then say something. This will work much better if you used a sound effect or muted the audio for a split second. Also, shout out to Slayer the Lolly for this next point that I can't believe I didn't notice. You tried to censor Blaze saying,
"What did you say out here is complete bullshit."
But earlier in the video, Blaze said,
"So yeah, it was highly fucking encouraged."
And I didn't hear any forced foghorns to censor that. It doesn't make sense. Just choose a route and stay consistent.
I really wish that people in the commentary community would just knock this shit out. And also, I'm gonna just come right out and say it. I have far more respect for the skeptic/political community on YouTube than I have for the commentary community. Because they don't nitpick over stupid shit such as making subjective points or agreeing.
So, pointing out flawed arguments in a video is nitpicking?
Sometimes, like you did in one part earlier.
Might I draw emphasis to what Slayer said? Pointing out flaws in arguments is not nitpicking, because the main focus of commentaries are the arguments. What Slayer said about Blaze not using a skip card was not part of the argument being made, thus making it a nitpick. And you brought this up yourself, which would imply that you know what makes something a nitpick or not. And you cut Slayer off before he could explain what it means to nitpick.
A nitpick would imply that it is insignificant to the rest of the video, which going after a flawed point that someone makes really isn't.
So even if you didn't know what it was in the first place, Slayer elaborates. After that, Nick focuses on the avatars used in the co-op and how they were from an anime with sex appeal or something like that. Yeah guys, you should have used dinosaur toys! Now for my final thoughts. Everything about your video felt half-hearted. From your refusal to understand to your tone of voice, nothing about it felt like I'm supposed to care. In fact, it seemed like you made this commentary just to make this commentary. If you want people to be engaged with what you upload, you need to be engaged as well. And I'm done. Cue the explosion.
Bum dude 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 bum